out to me about my health journey. You've asked, what are you doing that you're getting such results? Well, the truth of the matter is, it's not a what, it's more of a why and a who. In this video, we're going to be speaking with Dale Lively, the owner and operator of Live Training Center. You're going to join us as we work out and have an honest and intimate conversation about stewardship of what God has given us, not just of soul and spirit, but of our body. We hope you enjoy the first of what we believe are many discussions to come as we talk about the total stewardship of our body and all the opportunities that God has given to us.
We're going to go side lunge. Sit into that left hip. Good. Right leg stays straight, and then stand up with that left side. There you go. We're just warming up those glutes and hamstrings.
What is it about being outside of our comfort zone that pushes us so much? Even in our workouts, you're constantly telling us that a lot.
Yeah.
Getting outside of that comfort. Why is it that we need that, not just bodily, but emotionally?
Everything, right?
Yeah.
I think as a whole, humans are addicted to comfort. I think it's very appealing. I think it's very romantic. We're going to go back this direction. There's an immediate payoff. Why do we like cake? Not because it's good for us. We like cake because there's a payoff. It's meeting a need, an immediate need. I saw a commercial yesterday on the Super Bowl, and it was for Pluto TV. You can edit that out if you need to. But it was literally about a free TV service. And they had a farmer who was headed to its field, and the whole play on words was like, they're growing couch potatoes. Like TV, the way that it was made to be watched, free. Culture is headed in that direction. Everything about life, to me, is about trying to grow. And with growth comes discomfort. Everything is uncomfortable. Running a business is uncomfortable. Running a church is uncomfortable. Leading is uncomfortable. Being a parent is uncomfortable. Getting sober is really uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. But that's also where the most value is. It's always paid dividends for me in every aspect. It's honing. It's refining. I think God wants to do that in our lives. You know that. And the more that we do that in here, the more durable we get, the more that we can take on. And I think the more responsibility that God gives us. So 10 pull-ups, wide grip overhand. You'll do your 10. I'll spot you from the back just like we do in PT. And then
wide grip or?
Wide grip overhand. Okay. So we want to go feet back, arms extended, head up, chest up. Squeeze, release. Squeeze, release, and I'll be behind you. Hips forward, glutes on, stomach on, arms extended, arms extended. There you go, let's go to work. Push down into my hands if you need it. I think community can help on the courage front too, though. Because it's scary being in here. It's scary taking chances. It's scary when you step outside of your comfort zone. So community equals courage. If you're doing these and you're like, I don't know if I can do those, and I come alongside you and I say, despite what you think, I know you can.
Right.
You don't have to believe yourself, just believe me.
Exactly.
Would you have that if you're doing it on your own? No, right?
No, and I think one of the things that happens at Live and in any good place where that is that there's a level of trust.
Sure.
It's like, get up there, I'm going to help you. But to trust, you have to be willing to let go of your pride. You have to be willing to go, I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
So that was one of the first things that happened when we talked about nutrition. My wife and I were sitting there, and we made a statement that everybody, muscle weighs more than fat. And you're like, does it?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah.
And you said, well, a pound is a pound. When we got in the car and went home, we realized for the first time we don't know as much as we think.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that hurts a lot of people. Not like we're being arrogant, but we've been filled so much information that we think we know more, but we got information, but maybe not wisdom. Does that make sense?
It does. And wisdom, I believe, is grown through experience. We live in the information age, and I think fitness, health, nutrition, supplementation, there's an overabundance of information. Some of it is tied to marketing.
Right.
Some of it is tied to society's addiction to comfort, saying, don't do anything different. Don't change anything about what you eat. Don't change anything about how you move. Let me give you this injection, or let me give you this pill, or just
shake weight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just do this one. We try to simplify, we try to hack it. And that's not the way that the body is designed. But I will tell you this, going back to that conversation, not to blow smoke, but I've often found that the best leaders are also the best followers. And I don't mean necessarily following me. I just mean being open to know that you don't know everything about a particular subject. And that's what makes you an amazing leader. So that's just my 2 cents.
Well, after you do yours, I've got another question for you.
Let me get them out.
Got some sting to it.
Go ahead.
All right. So, to the person that's sitting out there, we've got a lot of people going and working around here. We're working out. And they're like, listen, I get asked all the time. I get asked, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And what that question implies is what you mentioned, a hack. What is the diet? What is the pill? I had somebody ask me, what supplements are you taking? All of it well-meaning, but they're looking for that magic bullet. What's that one thing that you can do? And I think you hit on it. I want you to flesh that out a little bit.
Okay.
It's not one thing and I'm going to keep on doing the rest that I'm doing here. There's a different component to that. What is that? What are we missing when we start with the question, what, instead of why, what are we missing?
Well, I think anytime you step off into something uncomfortable, you got to know why you're doing it. Because there's going to come a period where you're not going to feel like doing it. And unless your why is burning inside of you, the chances of you being successful long term are going to be slim to none. So you got to start with that. But to sum it up, I think it comes down to the word intentionality. I genuinely do. But you have to know what to be intentional about as it pertains to exercise, nutrition, and recovery.
Yeah.
So how did Joel get to this place of coming in, I don't want to throw data out there, but let's say 35+% body fat, living an unhealthy life with knee issues, ex-athlete. What did he do? Well, he started from square one and he started to get really intentional about exercise.
Yeah.
Started to incorporate that into his routine. Did that happen overnight? Absolutely not. And then what happened? Well, he started to get really intentional on the nutrition front as it pertains to sound knowledge, the rules, practical strategies to apply that knowledge.
When we have our sit down, we'll have to talk about that personal component.
Sure.
Where we were, from where we were coming.
Sure.
I think that's exactly right. The idea that you can just hack it and it not disrupt your life means that you're not really getting the concept that your life needs disruption at that point. That's correct.
That's my favorite word. That was my word of last year, was disruption. Your routines are going to be disrupted. The idea of what you thought about muscle and fat was going to be disrupted.
Right.
The idea that you thought about protein or carbohydrates or nutrients, you came into it open, submitted to the process. I'm open to understanding what this information is. Great, now I have solid, sound information. Now how can I apply it? And you've done that every step of the way. So, but it didn't happen overnight.
No.
This did not happen by you getting in a cold plunge. This did not happen by you getting in a sauna or using a shake weight or taking a supplement.
Right.
This happened because you're committed. This happened because you're intentional. This happened because you are consistent. Not perfect. Joel's not perfect. Not on any front. He'll be the first one to tell you. So that hasn't been the strategy that's helped him get where he's at. It's about consistency and intentionality.
Consistency and intentionality.
That's right.
Knowing why you're doing it and then what to do.
And how to do it day after day after day. And that's where that why comes in, because you're not always going to feel like it.
Another one?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, the place.
This is when the magic happens. Okay.
That one will take it out of you. It's the simplest things too, It's the simplest things. I wonder if that's a lot of maybe some of our problem when it comes to our health
Yeah.
is that we're overcomplicating it. I mean, a lot of the movements that happen here at Live, and I'm not saying that there's not a high level. So let me say it like this. I had a older preacher tell me one time, he said, the point of you being highly educated is to take the complicated and break it down and make it simple.
That's right.
So it's not that there's not a high level of competency at Live, but when you walk into here, the movements are not complicated. Now, let me say, there's a simplicity to what's happening. I wonder if we're not overcomplicating that. You go into different places, there's 25 different machines, there's this variety, and maybe we're overloaded. There is a power to the simplicity. I think that way spiritually, but I wonder if that's not the truth physically as well.
It is. I think I can definitely see that and agree. You know, with so much information out there, sometimes we get lost as to what is legitimately going to move the needle. We call it majoring in the minors. If you're coming in talking about how many micrograms of magnesium do you need and whether or not it's whey versus, you know, grass-fed this, or those are important topics, but they're not your big rocks. So I think it's important to really understand, like, what is it that I need to do to accomplish what I'm ultimately after?
Right.
I think it first starts with recognizing where you're at and then where you want to be, and then reverse engineering that process, but getting with someone that can tell you, focus on this stuff, don't get lost in the minutia here, let's stay focused.
So we're going to come back to that after we do this rep.
Do it.
Focusing on reverse engineering it.
Yeah.
Let's come back to that
Okay.
after this rep.
Good, take it in front of you.
Whew. So, you just said reverse engineer.
Yeah.
So when I started working out, we started at Live. We were almost there, almost a year.
Yeah.
Maybe a little less. Felt stronger, felt better, felt good with community. I was at I think it was 48, 242, in that range. Nothing moved. I had no idea.
Your weight didn't move.
Weight didn't move.
Yes.
I didn't know if I was getting stronger.
Right.
I didn't know what was happening.
Right.
We started nutrition. Last weigh in, I'm at 206, 204 in that range. Body percentage fat down, muscle up.
How'd that happen, man?
Yeah, it happened because the reverse engineering.
Right.
So what you're doing is you're saying, let's start with the end in mind.
Right.
For that guy that's out there, that lady that's out there that's watching, and they've done some workouts before here or there, what is starting with the end in mind? What are they missing by just launching out and doing something and not understanding what they're trying to achieve or where they're going? Why does nutrition, the in-body live, why does that help by starting with the end in mind?
Well, I think anytime you have a goal, if you don't know where you're headed, then the chances of you reaching it are slim to none. So you have to get very, very clear and very, very specific about what's possible.
Okay.
Before you started with nutrition, you worked out for what reason? Why?
Yeah.
Why did you do it?
Well, I think I did it initially because I thought working out was going to help keep my weight down.
Did it?
Not a bit.
Okay.
A little,
Yeah.
but not really.
What did you learn going through nutrition?
What I learned about nutrition is that
In terms of the role that it plays in that process?
I'm not getting the whole story. That was the biggest takeaway of that nutrition. Once I got the whole story, it was like, boom, the light came on, and I realized, okay, this is what I'm trying to accomplish.
Yeah, it does. And most people are like you. You're coming into a gym, 99% of the people that come into Live or any other facility come in with the hopes of weight loss improvement. They also want body composition improvement, but they don't know what that language means yet.
What is the difference between that two?
Well, body composition is the amount of your weight that is fat. And fat is the unhealthy part of your weight. There's 3 parts that make up your weight: water, fat, everything else.
Right.
We call it dry lean mass, okay? Well, when you're coming into the gym, the unhealthy portion of your weight, the part of your weight that can cause disease and issues with just your body and your cardiac system, that's the fat. It's measured in body fat percentage. That is also called body composition. So when Joel came in, he just knows that I just need to get healthy. I think exercise is important in that process, and I'm trying to lose weight. Where we all get that flipped is that Joel can burn 30,000 calories, and a calorie is just a unit of energy that's in food. 30,000 calories a day, but he eats 32,000 and he's still going to gain weight.
Right.
Most people coming into the gym don't understand that concept. They're coming in to lose weight, never addressing what goes on in the kitchen. So the biggest aha moment was, yes, the gym is important for weight loss, but I hope that what you're finding is it's actually what I do outside of the gym that moves the needle the most as it pertains to losing weight.
And even within that space, even if I was to go less calories, just sheer less calories, and all of a sudden I see the scale dropping, what's happening to that muscle mass as well?
Yeah,
and I remember doing keto at one time, and I remember, man, I lost weight. My weight was coming off, but I felt just like, man, I don't feel anything. So even within that space, I think you said it earlier when we were talking, there's so much information, but we don't have the tools to discern the information.
Right.
So you might say, well, look, I'm on a diet, I'm doing keto, I've lost 10, 15 pounds, but you don't actually know all that's going on inside your body. That one chapter isn't telling the whole story.
Let me help you guys just a little bit, if I can. You think the only thing that's occurred with Joel is just a bunch of weight loss, but that's not what's happened.
Right.
Joel has lost fat. He has retained and actually built muscle. The muscle is what creates durability. That's what creates strength. That's why you walk in church and go, nice shoulders, Pastor, right? But that's what you're seeing. He's also learned how to move in a way that improves his quality of life, makes him durable in the gym and outside of the gym. None of that is by accident. None of that is by mistake. There have been programs that have been built specifically for him to get him stronger, improve his mobility, improve his durability, and target specifically the unhealthy part of his weight while he hangs on to the healthy part of his weight, which is his muscle.
Yeah.
We do that by being specific and intentional with the amount of calories that Joel's taken in and the type of nutrients that he's taken in. Proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. It's not a hack. It's not by accident. It's not keto. It's not a buzzword. These are core nutritional principles that are not rooted in how can I get the most with the least amount of effort. This is consistency. This is intentionality. This is doing it when he doesn't feel like it. This is trusting the process even when he doesn't believe it in his own head. I told him initially, I said, hey, you trust me until you can trust you.
Yeah.
I think that's what a good coach could do. And I'm not patting myself on the back, but that's the environment. He's bumping up against his own limitations.
Yeah.
That's scary, right?
Yeah.
For anyone. In the gym, he's got a knee. So it's like that's the environment that we're working to create. All of this is a little scary.
Yeah.
Can I guide him? Can I walk along beside him? Can we do this journey together? Can I lead him in this space so that, he can do what he's doing and he's freaking crushing. Last one. Good. Now, how different is your checklist in that space than, let's say, when you were doing boot camp or just whenever you were working out before?
I had no checklist.
Yeah.
I mean, I had some kind of vague idea.
Right.
But I think one of the things about being in a boot camp, about live, is all of the instructors, all the coaches are very keyed in on, let's make sure we get the movement right.
Yeah.
I mean, if I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times. Regress.
Yes.
Until you get your mechanics right. Okay, so speaking of mechanics, when you were talking about movement, a lot of guys will reach out, they think, I need to do workout, I need to do something. Again, anything I think is better than nothing. But the first time I was here, my wife and I came, I was doing a reverse lunge, and you were working with the class, and you came over, and I forget what it was. I think my foot was out or something. I was just some kind of cattywampus. And you said, let me put you in position. And it was all of a sudden, it went from easy to like, this is brutally hard. And you said to me, your body will always look for the easiest way to do something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, I can take that and preach with that.
Yes.
I mean, that's so true.
Coming Sunday.
That's so true in Christianity.
Yeah.
We always look for the easiest way.
Yes.
But when we're doing our workouts, one of the things that's happened here, and I have guys reach out to me, I feel, this is more than ego, And it's more than just getting into smaller clothes, though that's a cool thing.
Yeah.
I feel stronger and physically, maybe we'll talk about the physical spiritual connection, but I feel stronger just in movement. You know, I'm changing a car battery. Just the literal, just picking it up and moving, the normal movements of life, I feel stronger with what I'm doing. What is it about the mechanics and the movements that we have to be careful about, and this, as opposed to just doing a shake weight or going into a machine and you're just doing that machine, but what is it about the mechanics and the movements here that's so helpful?
Details matter. Intentionality matters with any aspect of your body. And you get out of exercise what you put into it. But the reality is your body is very similar to a machine. If you take your car and you pull it off the lot, there have been factory set alignments that are, when that vehicle is built, that are set a very specific way. And then you drive that vehicle and you're hitting curbs and you're driving on uneven roads. You may even bump into something, and you're opening and closing the door. There's overuse in some areas. Some parts are wearing out. The alignment that came off of the showroom floor is much different. So you have to take it in and you have to get a tune-up. Well, if you don't tune it up, tires may start wearing. You may start burning more oil. You start having detrimental effects. Well, the body is very similar. It's designed to move in a very specific way. And there are normal ranges of motion for the joints as God designed us.
Right.
But there's a principle, we're going to get in the weeds a little bit, but there's a principle called the SAID principle as it relates to exercise in the human body. And what it means is the body is very smart. It adapts to the demands that we place on it. So if you're sitting at a desk, or you're driving, or you are doing a repeated action. I have a surgeon, right, who stands and operates for 7-8 hours a day in this position. Well, your body just doesn't snap back after standing for 40 hours a week or sitting in 40 hours a week in a certain position. There are imbalances that are created. The tissues get tighter, the tissues get weaker. They start pulling on your joints in a very specific way. If those aren't addressed, and you go into a gym with the best of intentions, saying, I want to lose weight, I want to get healthy, but you never start to address the recovery, the imbalances, or the technique and the mechanics by which you are lifting, your good intentions could result in an injury or some type of quality of life limitation that occurs from good intentions but just poor mechanics. So that was a long answer.
No, but I think that's true, because there's a lot of times, if we're honest, we go into the gym, we're like, okay, it's the first of the year, I'm committed, I'm going to do something, and we're not actually feeling that much better.
Yeah. Because,
like you said, if you're a pastor, for say, and you're sitting 2-3 hours a day studying, your body's just in that position, then you run up to the, a Crunch or LA Fitness or wherever, and you do an elliptical machine for 30 minutes, it's better than nothing, but you really haven't addressed what your body is adjusting to.
Correct.
You're not really getting to the needs of the body.
You look at an 80-year-old person who hasn't exercised. How are they walking around?
Well, they're hunched over.
Yeah, they're not walking like this.
Right.
Life is pulling us forward.
Right.
Not in the best way either.
Right, exactly.
Right? It's pulling us forward. It's tightening us up. A lot of injuries are occurring because those aren't addressed. The other reason a lot of it, I heard a stat the other day, a massage therapist told me. She goes, for the women that come in here, the shoulder issues that we see, the rotator cuff issues, do you know what life event occurs for them to come in with a shoulder issue? Vacuuming.
Yeah.
They're putting their shoulder in different ranges of motion that they weren't set up to do.
Right.
That vacuuming is the hardest thing that they've done in a long time. And if you're normally getting injured, in my experience, in everyday life, when your body is in the hardest position it's been in a long time.
Yeah.
For some people, that's running with their kids.
Right.
They go to take off with their grandkids, they pull a hamstring. For some people, they're at work and they lift a box and it's like, oh, that was the hardest thing that they did.
Right.
But if we can intentionally and voluntarily put ourselves in a position where we are consistently placing an appropriate demand, safe, effective demand on our body, this now becomes the hardest thing that we are doing. Everything outside of here becomes much easier, and we have the durability in order to do it.
So when we finish this last, I want to come back, because you said something about the car, the design, the way we're intended. And that really is going to lead us, I think, into, while we're working out, a conversation that you and I have quite a bit, is the spiritual and the physical, the stewardship of what God has given us spiritually.
Yeah.
And that to me encompasses emotional, but also the stewardship that God has given us physical. It's not an either or, it's a both and. And we know that God has designed us internally. No matter where you land, we know that God has designed us internally, but he's also designed us externally. And there's a deep connection. And I want to bring that up in just a minute, because I didn't realize how powerful those two were. Something I want to come back to on.
Perfect. Let's go. Big press. 1, up and down only. 2, give me 8.
So, when we were talking,
Yeah.
you used the illustration about a car being designed. So, the Bible talks about us, our human nature, body, soul, spirit. So, our spirit is in connection with Him. It's got to be stewarded. You've got to maintain that. Our emotion, or that soul, is my connection with you, my wife, my family. There's a stewardship there. But the low man on the pole, on the priority list, is the body, and yet it's equally part of what it means to be a human being. In fact, death in the Bible is defined as your soul being separated from your body. So, what is it that I'm sensing? Because when I first started working out on nutrition, I'm like, I just don't want to get diabetes. That was my big thing. 6 months into this, it's like, boom, a light has come on. And I'm not saying that it's not like I don't care for the others, but it's like, it's an amazing thing. This has opened up a window of, wow, there is a spiritual component, or I should say, I don't want to be irreverent, but a God component to the stewardship of my body. What is it that we've been missing about that in this space for so long?
I don't know if you remember this. When we first started, I started thinking a lot about that. And I actually asked you about, what do we have control over in free will? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where my head was. And, you know, you have since, what I love about this relationship that we have is that I'm glad I get the opportunity to do this and to help you on this physical side. And obviously, as a Christian, it's so cool to see these physical principles and you filter them through this spiritual knowledge that you have and then spit them back out. So I'm getting just as much value out of this as you are, please understand. But I do think it's very interesting when you start to realize that we have more control over how we're feeling than we give ourselves credit for.
That's a gold statement right there.
We also have more responsibility than we give ourselves credit for. That's the two sides
of the coin. Let me jump in on that. Because as a pastor, and a lot of people, whether you're in ministry or you're just in day-to-day life, in ministering to people, a lot of counseling is this feeling of helplessness over the way they feel, over their emotions, and you just hit the nail on the head. There's a lot more control than we realize.
I 100% agree. It's often said that exercise is one of the most underutilized antidepressant and anti-anxiety, problem solvers, so to speak. I don't want to say prescriptions, but problem solvers. The chemical reactions that occur when you're in the gym, the improvements to building a routine and feeling disciplined, this idea that comfort that you're seeking is keeping you stuck.
Yes.
You're in a pattern of this short-term payoff, short-term coping mechanism, whether it's reaching for sugar or reaching for fast food or reaching for the next thing. I heard a statement the other day, the best version of you isn't the version that says I can do whatever, whenever, however, to what extent. The best version of you is the most disciplined version of you. Yes. There's freedom in it. But the freedom doesn't, because it sounds backwards. Discipline sounds like a jail.
Right.
But it's not, because it frees you up from having to make the decision. You're not wrestling. For someone that isn't disciplined, the alarm goes off at 4:30, there is a wrestling.
Yeah.
I don't want to get up. I'm getting up. I don't want to get up. I don't want to get up. If you're disciplined, you get up.
Right.
Now, if you can just operate in that space and you align yourself with What are the things that I need to do to honor God, honor myself, honor my family, honor my body, and then you operate in a very disciplined manner, it changes how you feel. It changes your relationships.
Yes.
It changes how you see yourself. And I think that's part of the connection. You start honoring this gift of life.
Yes.
You start honoring yourself. You start showing God that how grateful you are to be on this planet and to make a kingdom impact by taking care of one of the greatest responsibilities we have, which is this body.
What we can control.
Yes. Which are you taking into the shop more often? Your body or your car?
That's good. That's good.
Good. Over your chest, not your neck. You all right?
Yes,
Over your chest, not your neck. Let's go. Big push. 1.
So there is a connection. It's not a matter, obviously, it's not a matter just of the physical getting in shape. There is a connection spiritually, because you said it, taking care of the stewardship that God has given us. One of the things I said to you that hit me a long time ago was part of getting in shape, part of being healthy, is that if I don't, I'm actually robbing my future self, my grandchildren, my future, my wife, our future together. I'm taking time that belongs to them and I'm using it up on McDonald's, the couch, excuses, whatever it is. But the more I can invest in that, what we do here today is actually paying the dividends long term. And that's not just a spiritual thing. I mean, scientifically, data-wise, we're seeing that more than we've ever seen it before. This culture is all about using up everything right now, and then there's nothing at the end. And I can't remember the doctor's name, but he said, I wish I could take people and show them the last 10 years of their life.
I remember this. It's so good.
And show them what their life would be like if they don't take care of themselves now.
So good.
And so that's really a part of the live concept. It is live, but it's living. We're not just doing what we do now.
Yeah.
We're helping that person down the road.
It's long-term sustainability.
Sustainability. That's what you said to me yes.
It's not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Yes,
it's not
you said that to me when we worked out.
Yeah.
You asked me if I was working out, and I said yes. And you said, is it sustainable?
Right.
I said no.
Right. And that's the thing is when you start talking about these different trendy topics that come in, whether it is a technique or a new diet, a lot of it is based on marketing. Listen, the supplement industry is not regulated by the FDA, so I can make anything, put a claim on it, and until someone proves me wrong, I can continue to sell it. And when you know that, and you understand that, you start thinking twice about the supplements that you're buying. You want a reputable source, and you want to ensure that maybe these aren't the magic, right? Maybe it's just a supplement as a whole, and you and I discussed this, but a supplement as a whole is like supplemental insurance. Aflac, it's not your primary provider. It's there to fill in the gap. It's not the end all be all. Take this and all your problems will be solved. That, I believe, is a societal issue.
Yes.
That is, I believe, I want to get the greatest return with the least investment on my part issue.
So, as a pastor's perspective, and for those of you that are in ministry, that's what happens. People will reach out and they'll say, hey, what are you doing to grow? What are you doing to reach your community? As if it is an individual, and my answer is always the same. For us, it's the culture. It's the culture of the church. And I can't hand you a program. It has to be a culture thing. And I think, in essence, that's what you're saying about our physical health. It's not a magic bullet. It is a culture. If you're going to get the most bang for the buck, you're going to have to embrace not the American culture, but the new process.
Yes, it's the process. I think one of the greatest gifts, right, and I don't even know any other way to say it, but I guess one of the things that I hope to do with each client is give them information, but I want to change your perspective. I want to change how you see exercise. I want to change how you see your body. I want to change how you see food.
Right.
I want to change how you see nutrients. I want to change how you think about recovery.
Yeah.
And I want to change how you see yourself and what you think you're capable of. So it's a shift in perspective on there is a massive life that we can live when we get healthy.
Right.
But it's like the key that's unlocking all of it. Your disciplined self will create the greatest kingdom impact. The end.
Discipline across the board.
Your discipline, like your discipline on a spiritual level is through the roof. Your commitment to your wife and the different we talked about this, the different things that you do to safeguard your relationship are astronomical. Do you care about being that guy as it pertains to your wife? No. Yeah. Because that relationship means more. So when we start prioritizing our own health in the same manner and we get locked in, it's over.
So at the risk of making you mad, the Bible says, he that is faithful in that which is least will be faithful in that which is most. He that is unfaithful in that which is least will be unfaithful. So we have to ask ourselves a tough question. You said something to me in a text about auditing. We have to ask ourselves a tough question. If we're not faithful in our body, are we really being faithful spiritually? If you can't be faithful in what you see on a day-to-day basis, physically, are we really all that committed? You say, well, I do a lot of Bible reading and prayer. Yeah, but if you can't be faithful to nutrition, to your stewardship, I'm not saying you're a horrible person. I'm just saying, are we as faithful as we think? We have to take the whole package, and separating it out maybe has allowed us to justify some decisions that might not be.
Why do you think that there hasn't been, and I'm starting to see it recently, why do you think, because this is something that God, I feel like, put on my heart at the beginning of 22, why do you feel like the physical body and the intentionality around improving it has kind of gone by the wayside in the church?
I think for two reasons. I think number one is because our culture, the enemy always takes good and distorts it. And so our culture has taken the good of our body and our health and distorted it into an over-sexualized, over-image conscience. And so there's this, sometimes in the church, this aversion to, we overreact. That's how we correct in the church. We don't just steer back to the middle, we jerk it. And so we've gone from, no, I don't want to be overly sexualized, overly committed, to I'm not committed at all. But secondly, I'm going to be honest with you, from some of you guys, I think it's a lack of good theology that recognizes that you know the old saying, you are what you eat. The truth of the matter is, you can't counsel your way out of bad habits physically. I mean, I can tell you to read your Bible and pray and go to church, but if your emotions and your life and your marriage is affected by what you're eating, there has to be a change or a lack of exercise. And so our theology has said, just don't worry about the outside, just focus on the inside. But that's not a balanced perspective. We have to be focused because we're a total person, body, soul, and spirit. And so I think those two things have made a big difference. And then I will add this, I think sheerly just a lack of wise knowledge. There's so much information that we're out there and we're just piecing it together. And I know that's what my wife and I were. And she's a cancer survivor. And so we're a lot more in tune with that, but we just didn't know what we didn't know. And I think one of the things about Live, a shameless plug, is that when we came in, it is a business like any other thing, but when we came in, the feeling was not, we have to make $1 first to keep it afloat. The feeling was, we may or may not be the place for you, but we want to help you.
That's right.
We want to help you. And that changed the whole ballgame. And even, I just want to say real quick, even if you're watching and maybe you're not in the area, I do think that there's space for you to reach out for a consultation, for help. That's what we're here for. That's part of what this video is for. Not to beat you up about where you are, but to go, hey, you can be where God designed you to be, whether you're here or across the country. There are principles that are transcendent spiritually, and I think that there are principles that are transcendent physically wherever you are. They can definitely consult with you and help you.
Absolutely.
I know you got the big rep coming. I'll get out of the way.